Welcome to the League Talk Podcast. I'm your host, Youman. Joining me on this episode is retired Major League pitcher turned grill master, Mr. John Grabow. Graves, what's going on, man?
Hey, what's going on? Thanks for having me on, dude.
Appreciate you, man. I've been keeping up with you a little bit on Facebook. I know you're not throwing the ball around no more. You're on that grill a lot and raising the family, man. So, I appreciate you taking that time out to jump on this podcast with me, because I know it's a busy life. I have a young kid myself, and I'm starting to run around crazy already, just kind of trying to keep up with her. So I can imagine you having a preteen and a teenager in the house, trying to keep things in order. So, again, I appreciate you hopping on, man.
Man. Thanks. Yep.
How's everything out that way in Arizona, man? With the pandemic and stuff like that. It's been almost a year since we got shut down, and a lot of things have changed. So what's going on out in Arizona?
Well, we're trying to make the best of how things are. Obviously, we're doing our best to follow all the guidelines. Our kids they're in school right now. But they did start virtual at the beginning of last year. They went virtual, but they're in person right now. And that's been going pretty good. My wife got COVID. So we had to, separate in the house and do that whole thing. Luckily, no one else in the house got it. But, trying to work through it just like everyone else. Yeah. With sports, they're, trying to keep it going, trying to follow all the rules so we can still play. I know some states aren't open as far as sports, so we're getting a lot of but other states coming into our state to play club sports and whatnot. So we've been doing the best we can, and just like everyone else, just make the best of it, and hopefully this is behind us soon.
Yeah, that's tough, man. I mean, I'm glad wifey's doing well, but you're in the same house as your wife with. I can't see you. I can't really interact with you like talking about. So how was that for those 10 to 14 days, knowing, my wife, I'm used to being with her every single day. I can touch her, whatever it may be. And now we're still in the same house, but you have to stay upstairs or vice versa. I got to stay upstairs, whatever it may be. The kids have to be in a certain area, so on and so forth. How was that, man, for those couple of weeks?
Basically, we're pretty lucky. I mean, we got a fifth wheel camper here. So we always said, hey, if one of us gets it, and we can try and do it that way. So one of us, we can go in the camper, or we can separate in the house. My son was at his mom's house when she tested positive, and so we just basically she had the one side of the house to herself where she had her bathroom, and then we just labeled off the bathrooms. We just put like a sticky note on the door, like, okay, this is the bathrooms we're allowed to use, and then she just cleaned the kitchen a ton. And then when I was in the house, I just wear a mask, and, obviously I was just doing the social distancing. And I did that I think we did that for 10 days. It's funny because we went and got tested the same exact time in the same vehicle. She came back positive. I came back negative. And then 10 days later, I went and got tested again. So I go back and coach high school baseball, came back negative, and I was good to go. So, she just kind of got like a real bad cold. Luckily she didn't get it really, really bad. So, and no one else in the family got it. And, just kind of a weird virus, man.
It is crazy. We don't know what COVID is. It could be a slew of things, and we don't know unless we go ahead and get tested occasionally, because, I mean, like you said, your wife just had pretty much a real bad cold, nothing crazy to where it's like, oh yeah, we definitely need to check this out or what have you. So, I mean, it's cool. Like I said, you guys are back in order. Things are good. this is the League Talk podcast, man, and we're here to talk about you. But obviously, we got to find out what you've been up to, what you're doing. I hear you mention coaching the high school baseball now. Is that something that you've been doing for the last few years, and you pretty much dove all the way in, or it's just something that you kind of occasionally put your hand in and help out the local high school?
Yeah, so I've been coaching high school baseball a little bit off and on since I retired, and then just this last year, kind of went full on with one of the local high schools here. They didn't have a pitching coach, and one of my son's club coaches at that high school. He teaches there, and he asked me if I would be interested in coming out and helping out. And so I've been there about a year now, and we're just getting ready to gear up for the season. Our season starts on March 12th. We got 3 scrimmages this week, so I'll be on the field quite a bit this week.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. Giving that knowledge back is always good, especially at the youth level, high school level, where kids have a chance to really, make that push and stand out and separate themselves from the rest of the pack, and perhaps get that opportunity to play collegiately or professionally. And it's coming from a former big leaguer. You've been around the block. You've been through the trenches and some of the things that these kids are going through growing up in Arcadia. Where is Arcadia, California, man, by the way? Okay.
So Arcadia, California is right next to Pasadena. So if you're familiar with the Rose Bowl or the Rose Parade, I actually grew up in a town just next to Arcadia. I grew up in San Gabriel, and I went to San Gabriel High School.
Okay.
I was born in Arcadia, which is just, one town over, one suburb over. So pretty much East Los Angeles area, just south of Pasadena. So people ask me, where's San Gabriel, where's Arcadia? I just tell them Pasadena.
Gotcha.
Everyone knows Pasadena. If you're a football fan and you watch the Rose Bowl, or you watch the Rose Parade every New Year's Day, then you know Pasadena.
Yeah, you have to. That's mandatory. If not, something wrong with you, man. So, we're going to talk about that, though. Growing up there, what was it like growing up? You were just on the outskirts of LA, as you mentioned. Pasadena being a big city. I'm from a small town in Louisiana, so I'm kind of like you. If I say New Iberia, Louisiana, and people ask where's that, I just mentioned Lafayette, Louisiana. Like, oh, okay, I know where that is. But talk about growing up there, man. Just outside of LA, not in the hustle and bustle of the everyday life that LA brings to the table. But talk about growing up in San Gabriel.
Well, San Gabriel is just it's a suburb of Los Angeles, and it's a very heavily populated area. A lot of sports. I tried to play as much sports as I could in high school. Sports kept me out of trouble, and everything was good. And I loved living in the area. I don't live there now. It's a little expensive to live there.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And the traffic is kind of crazy. So when I go back to California, I typically try and go down to San Diego area. It's a little less crowded. But I still go to my hometown and visit a little bit and check things out. But it's changed a lot since I've lived there.
Yeah, so it was more of a hometown, like small town kind of community. Everybody kind of knew everybody, and the community was I guess I wouldn't know how to put it, but it was a community area, right? Everybody knew everybody. We got along. You said hello, you spoke to people, so on and so forth. Now, I'm sure people wanting to get out of the city of LA, even Pasadena, they move out to those suburbs to where you say it's expensive, but they may be able to get a little bit more for their buck if they moved out to San Gabriel or Arcadia. So you spoke on sports. Sports kept you out of trouble.
Looking to support a nonprofit that is making moves? Real Youth Mentoring is a nonprofit organization that provides support to young men across the United States, teaching them to be better scholars, better leaders, and productive members of their community. Through service, scholarship, and engagement, we address the systemic issues that often plague low-income communities while providing solutions rooted in economics and accountability. Visit our website, www.realyouthmentoring.org, to learn how you can join and learn ways that you can provide support. The change we need is here, and the change we need is now. Become a member and a supporter today.
When did you start playing organized sports? Coming up out there in the suburb of LA.
Yeah, I started playing baseball when I was 8, so I was a little bit older. And it's funny, I was spending the weekend with a family friend. Wasn't even playing baseball at the time, but he had a game that weekend, and we were going to be going to, we were going to go to the mountains and hang out. They had a cabin up there, so I was tagging along to watch the game on a Saturday before we were going to go up to the mountains, about a 2-hour drive. And they were short a player, so they asked me if I'd play. So I was like, okay, so I'll go out there. And I mean, I played catch and baseball, but I never played, on a team or anything. And it was just hooked ever since. Just in that little league, still there to this day. And those are some of my best memories of playing baseball was just, at that age, because, just no pressure, just went out, had fun, got to hang out with your buddies and just go out there and ball it up.
No doubt. So tell me, man, you was along for the ride, just passing time before you guys went up to the mountains. Did you have a glove, number one? Number two, did you have on jeans? Or was it shorts or sweatpants?
I can't remember what I was wearing, and I don't even remember if I had a glove. I'm pretty sure someone probably gave me a glove. I can't remember that. I just remember just kind of getting tossed in the mix and just being raw. Didn't really know much about the game, but I was just hooked right from there. I was like, this is something I want to do. This is fun. I love being on the baseball field. And then just had my parents sign me up right away. And I ended up playing on that kid's team and staying on that team. And, that's where my baseball my baseball journey started.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. Back then, we pretty much the same age. We'd go out there with some jeans on and some cleats and jump in there and play. So that's why I asked if you had on some jeans or something like that and was on the field.
Oh, yeah.
Your those first game.
Definitely was some jeans days, man. Yeah. Yeah, definitely had those days. And I think it got to the point where my mom finally said, no, I'm tired of you tearing up your jeans. I'm tired of sewing these patches in there. So she's like, you need to start wearing baseball pants. So, and then that whole process started with my mom, just, being able to fix my baseball pants and clean them. And, you take that stuff for granted because, no one starts playing baseball and, some of these fields, they got that red clay and they slide. And it's like, man, you're just scrubbing there forever, trying to get that red clay out of there. And, all those years, my mom was cleaning my uniform, always made sure my uniform was clean, for practices and whatnot. You appreciate it a little bit more.
Oh, definitely. But you got the upper hand right now. If you really want, you call up the club in Pittsburgh or Chicago and get some of that solution they use, to get the dirt stains out of the pans. But I'm sure it's a little tougher. You could do that, make that call.
It's amazing because you start thinking about that when we be in the clubhouse in Pittsburgh, wherever we're at. You watch these clubbies, spraying down, grass stains on pants and whatnot. And you're like, now I'm like, I wish I had that stuff. I wonder what they're using.
Yeah, I'm sure we can find it, man, nowadays with everything being out there. So you're talking about 8 years old, just kind of, out there on the whim. You're traveling or tagging along with one of your homeboys and you start playing baseball, boom, immediately hooked. Throughout that time from age 8, on to middle school and then to high school, did you pick up on any other sports as a youngster where you played probably organized wise?
I played every sport I could. After school sports, I would play flag football, basketball. And then as I got a little bit older, started getting close to junior high, play Pop Warner football. But I tried to play as many sports as I could, not just baseball. And then once I got to high school baseball, starting to get recognized a little bit more. All right, and maybe I need to play one sport. Football's kind of going to get pushed in the back burner. Can't get hurt. I knew baseball was going to be my passion. But yeah, just growing up, I tried to play as much sports as I could, and I try and encourage my son to play as many sports as he can, just to be just an agile athlete. I think that it all helps out. If you're going to continue to play baseball, if you can play as many sports as you can, it's just going to make you a better baseball player.
Oh, yeah, it trains different muscles, your hand-eye coordination, being able to react to certain things. You're talking about change of direction, all of this stuff, man. As a pitcher, having to being able to cover first, being able to react to a ground ball hit back to you, whatever it may be. And we're just talking about from a pitching standpoint, just think about the other positions on a baseball field. So you have to do different little things. And you don't have to feel like a robot that you have to be technically sound. Yeah, you need the basics, but sometimes it takes that athleticism to be able to react and go out there and make a play or do something that you might not be able to practice on a daily basis when you're working out. So, playing those multiple sports obviously help you develop. When did you start pitching? Because we know you played 19 years in the big leagues as a left-handed pitcher. When did you start pitching? I'm sure immediately once they knew you were a lefty, they wanted to throw you on the mound.
Yeah, I pitched all the way from Little League from, basically when I started playing all the way until, I was done playing. So I would say, 8, 9, 10 years old, that's when I was pitching. And I never stopped. I mean, I'm left-handed. Yeah. And, you know how it is with the lefties. You see a lefty and as a coach, I see lefties and I want to guard them because I just know that they're just, they get thrown so much. But yeah, I was one of those kids that threw a ton. Luckily, I never had any major arm injuries. And that might have helped me by pitching a ton. Yeah, I was always on the bump, man. I was playing, on the, pitching or playing first base or playing the outfield.
Yeah. So. Yeah, that's cool. Because I know, man, being a lefty, they always say it's a, high commodity and stuff like that. So anytime a coach gets a lefty, they want to know, hey, man, can you pitch? That's one of the first things that they ask. So the fact that you jumped on that field right away, and then right away you became that pitcher, and you did it from age 8 to age, I don't know what, you were in your mid 30s when you retired. So, Tell me this though, you're talking about the journey. We start at 8 years old. We're picking up on different sports. You're talking about football, basketball, playing these multiple sports, and then you started to kind of push those other sports on the back burner once you got to that middle school, high school age, and you knew baseball is probably going to be the thing for me. Getting into high school, how much of an adjustment did you have to make from playing, 8U, 9U, 12U, or whatever it was that you were playing coming up? How much of an adjustment was it? Now you're 13, 14 years old. You're facing guys that are 16 and 17. Was that a huge adjustment for you, or was it something that you kind of naturally fell into and kept the ball rolling?
Well, I mean, I didn't have club baseball like it is now. I played Little League, and then I played pony ball, and then it went into senior baseball, and then you were into high school baseball. During high school baseball, you played Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth baseball, I played for the Arcadia Astros, and that was that kind of whole San Gabriel Valley Babe Ruth area league. And that was some really good talent. And I started playing in that when I was a sophomore. And actually, after my freshman year in high school, I got into that league, and that kind of forced you to play against some older boys, some better talent. And then, being in high school, I played freshman baseball on the freshman team, and then after that, as a sophomore, played varsity. So I kind of had to learn right away. They kind of threw me right into the fire. But I think that the one thing with me growing up, like I always had something in my hand. I was always throwing something. So I had a strong arm. So I think that, just having a strong arm, getting into high school kind of helped me transition into, playing against some older kids. I, kind of held my own a little bit. And then as I got older and it kind of grew into my body, that helped a lot. But I got thrown right into the fire right away.
Yes, you had to be ready, but you're saying Babe Ruth kind of prepped you in a sense for that, because you started to play against some better competition, guys that may have been a little bit older than you. So, but when you've seen it on a daily basis, you're playing against some good competition. I know California in baseball, there's some good baseball out there on the West Coast, and then you're in the LA area, so it's even more. When you're talking about the different sections and stuff like that. Did you ever get to play against Coco Chris coming up? Because I know he's from the LA area. You guys never faced off against each other?
No, I don't remember, but at that time,
right?
So there's so many players, you don't know them all by their names, and you're playing against so many teams. You're playing pretty much year round. So I could have played against a lot of guys in high school baseball that eventually made it to the big leagues and never knew that I played against them in high school baseball. So That's the one thing about, Los Angeles or Southern California in general, there's so many people, you're just going to have a bigger pool of players. It's a lot of talent just because there's so many people. So there's probably a lot of players that I played against coming up through the years that I never knew I played against them in high school, and face them in the big leagues, a bunch.
Yeah. Yeah. So you talk about, getting thrown into the fire sophomore year, admitted you had a strong arm. Obviously that kind of helped you along the way, but was there something that helped was that something that forced you to make an adjustment, or what was the biggest teaching point that you had to get through once you got into that fight and was playing against that top competition at the high school level, though you were a sophomore in high school?
Well, I had a coach my freshman year. He was a varsity coach. His name is Steve Gawicky, and he's actually still coaches high school baseball at the rival high school from where I went to high school. But he was there, and I was a freshman, and he saw me, and he was playing in like a men's, kind of semi-pro, I guess, retired ball players league that they would play on like a Saturday. And he started bringing me out there as a freshman, and not to pitch, but not to pitch, just to play.
Gotcha.
They throw me in right field. I get a few at bats. So I'm playing against guys that are way older than me. So he saw that I had some ability. And so from there, Craig Wallenbrock, who, is a big hitting guru, he was running a scout team. I think it was the Cleveland Indian scout team at the time. And he saw me and threw me on that scout team. So after my freshman year, from my sophomore, junior, and senior year, I played scout baseball during I guess that would be the winter months when high school baseball was done. We play scout ball. We'd all meet up at a local college. They would, it's pretty much the top talent from that area, and you play against junior colleges and stuff like that. So I was lucky that I had coaches in high school baseball, starting with Steve Gawicky, and then when Steve went to a rival high school, we got another coach, Julian Salazar, who was a former pro ball player. He played in the Brewers organization, and his buddy Wallace Gonzalez, who he had just got done playing pro ball for the Atlanta Braves minor leagues organization. So I had those two coaches from my sophomore year all the way to my senior year. So I had coaches that I was lucky had played Division I baseball and played minor league baseball and were done. And so they kind of were grooming me. So once I graduated high school baseball, I transitioned into pro ball pretty easily because of the way they ran the program at my high school.
That's huge, man, because we're going to get into that obviously a little bit later, but that's huge to have that amount of guys. You might get one guy like that in an organization, or you might, as a player, as a youngster, not only be able to have one guy, whether it's high school, summer ball, fall ball, or whatever, that may have that experience. Most kids don't have that. So for you to have 3 to 4 guys like that to help groom you, that's huge, man. That's priceless when you're talking about getting thrown into the fire at such a young age. And then even before that, as a freshman, you're going to play against these grown men. Yeah. Fortunately, you were playing right field, so the ball's not coming as hard as it would be if you're playing in the infield or even pitching. But tell me this, man, did you, rumor has it, and as far as I can remember, you swung the bat pretty good back in the day. Am I right or wrong about that?
I was an okay high school hitter. Obviously, when getting close to getting drafted, I wanted to play both. I found out reality hit right away. Once I got to Bradenton, Florida, and went to rookie ball, the bats went away, and I was strictly going to be a pitcher. But yeah, I loved hitting. I still love going out and hitting a little bit. I guess that's just something you never lose. But yeah, I didn't have many opportunities in pro ball. Minor leagues you get to hit a little bit, but once I got to the big leagues, if I was hitting, we were probably in trouble.
Yeah, you got to save the bullpen for that day. If you hitting in the game, you're pitching in. you're out there for multiple innings. So, but man, we talking about this, having those guys, having that team, help groom you into being a top-notch ball player. Coming out of Southern Cal. When did you know, man, Graves? When did you know, or when did it click for you, and you were like, I got a chance to do this beyond high school, maybe collegiately or even professionally? At what time, at what point in your career did you notice that?
Well, I mean, I thought I was going to play in the major leagues when I was little, and that was just because that was just something I dreamt, and I just was going to follow my dreams, and that was in my heart. Baseball was just in my blood, and this is what I wanted to do. When I really realized, like, hey, I might have a chance of getting drafted, I would say probably going into my junior year in high school. Really? You start seeing a lot. You start seeing a lot more scouts come around, and you're like, okay, they're here to watch me. I don't know. So I would say like around then, they're like, okay, something's going on here, and so, but I was, my coaches, they kept me humble. They didn't let it get to my head. They always preached doing the right thing on and off the field. And, if they saw you kind of getting a little big-headed, man, they would bring you right back down to reality real quick. So,
yeah, that's huge, especially, man, coming up, young high schooler. Let's say star status. Let's say you're one of the guys, one of those guys. You're a guy. Can easily get the big head, man, I ain't practicing today, or you choose to do whatever drills you want. A lot of kids get away with that. But the fact that your coaches held you accountable, the rest of your team accountable, kept you guys in line, made you probably that much more hungry to go out there and do your best and excel on the field. Were there any other guys along with you that you may have played with in the fall, the summer, or even during your high school seasons that kind of stood out too? That was some of those guys that went out there and balled out on the field as well.
Yeah. So JJ Davis, him and I played the same scout team. We kind of grew up in the same area. He was probably about 20. He probably grew up about 20 minutes in Baldwin Park, not too far from where I grew up. So I saw JJ before everyone saw JJ. Yeah. I saw JJ as a pitcher and a hitter. He was one of those guys you just saw and you're like, man, I don't have a chance. Because he's this, huge dude, and he plays football, plays all kinds of sports, and you see him on the bump and you're like, he's pumping 95, and I'm like, I'm lucky if I hit 90 right now, and just dominating. So, and you had guys like, I think Kevin Garland that was in that area. So you would see him throw quite a bit. There was a bunch of guys. But I would say like JJ, being around him, that kind of motivated you a little bit. Like, man, I gotta step it up a little bit, kind of figure things out here. But watching JJ in high school, man, he was a beast, dude.
Yeah, I've heard stories, man. That's crazy. JJ Davis, shout out JJ Davis, man. Another Pirate, former big leaguer as well. Were you out there? Were you at home trying to stretch up to 6'7" so you could be as tall as he was? Or?
It was not going to happen. That was not going to happen, man.
Yeah, that dude was a beast, man. So we talking about that as a sophomore, maybe going into your junior year, you start to see those scouts come out. Who are they there for? Coaches are keeping you humble. Well, man, when I'm on the mound, just so happens some guys are pulling out radar guns. Maybe you got that questionnaire or two from a few scouts, and you start to see that it was real. You're starting to get that attention that you thought about as a youngster, having that dream of playing in the big leagues. Not only a few years down the line, that dream is starting to come, into play. It's starting to come true. So were there colleges? Were you like heavily recruited by colleges during that time as well? Speak on that whole process once you started getting that attention from pro scouts and even colleges. Yeah, so
I was definitely scouted a lot by college. I went and played the area code games in Southern California. It's kind of I guess it'll be a mini tournament that they have. At that time, they were doing it at Long Beach State. They basically take all the top high school talent and they play a few games. So I went and I pitched like 2 or 3 innings, and I was out of there. My mom had a vacation plan for us. We were going to Massachusetts. I went and pitched, bounced, came back, and we had a ton of voice recordings on the voice machine from, scouts from college baseball to pro ball. And so, I knew that, there's a pretty good chance that, I was going to go play college baseball somewhere, or I was going to get drafted. So, that was just something to talk to my mom and dad, said, hey, this is probably going to happen. If I get drafted, where I get drafted, and make a decision on whether I'm going to go to college or I'm going to go to pro ball. And so then you just make that decision, based on where you get drafted in the draft, whether it's just going to be more beneficial to go to college and get better, or, you get drafted, in a good spot where you can't say no, you got to go and play pro ball. So
definitely. And back then we had a little time to think about it, when it came to the draft, whether or not I'm gonna go to school or I'm gonna sign. Now you get maybe 3 or 4 weeks. If you don't make that decision within that time, then, you got to do it. Either you're going to school or you're signing. So there's no time where, because we graduated the same year, Graves. We graduated in 97. And I wasn't drafted in the 3rd round like you were. I was in the 45th round by the Dodgers. But, I had an opportunity to sign and get a couple of dollars, although my draft status was real low. And it took me until maybe a week before classes started to either just to sign or to go to college. And nowadays, like I said, you don't get that opportunity. So I kind of know how it is to take that time out and really discuss things and what makes sense for you as the ball player and your family too. For you, and we know you went in the 3rd round to the Pirates after graduating high school. It was probably an easy choice in the sense of you were being groomed once you set foot onto the high school campus, or even when you were playing on that scout team, because your coaches all played at a high level, college ball, pro ball. So you were mature in that sense and knew what it would take and what you would need to do in order to survive if you step foot on a professional field, fresh out of high school, 18 years old. So talk about that whole process of making that decision. As we know, 3rd round pick by the Pirates. But what were the schools that were after you that you would say were your maybe top 3 to 5?
Okay, so just local colleges: University of Southern California. Texas A&M was quite a bit. Miami at that time, a little bit of ASU. So I was getting letters from colleges pretty regularly. But I think a lot of the colleges knew that it was going to be tough for them to get me, because they kind of figured that I was going to go pretty high in the draft. It was just one of those things. You just kind of wait and see what happens on draft day. And, if I didn't get drafted in the slot that we thought we were going to go, then, I was probably going to make that decision to go to college.
Got you. Where would you have gone? Or where did you sign?
I signed my letter of intent at USC. So That's probably where I would have went. That's where they had the most interest at that time.
Oh, and I mean, at that time they were going to the College World Series every year almost, when you really look at it. And you look at Ron Dato, who obviously wasn't the coach there, but I think he had 10, 11 championships over at USC. I just remember playing against them. We probably would have faced off against each other if you'd have went to college, me being at LSU, because we met up with them in 1998, College World Series. So USC definitely couldn't have gone wrong with that. And then draft day comes around. You're talking about getting through your high school career, doing well, playing against some good competition, playing with some guys that can go, going to the area code games, shining, putting yourself on the map, remaining humble, not going too far to the right, too far to the left, but just staying on that good track in that positive direction. June draft comes around. Did you have to go to any pre-draft workouts, or was it just something that you were just waiting to see who would draft you or where you would go?
I didn't have to do any pre-draft workouts. I mean, they were at all my games. They were at all the games I pitched. They had, I pitched a lot my junior and senior year. So, I mean, they saw as long as I was healthy, they knew what they were getting. So I didn't have to do any of the pre-draft workouts or anything like that. So I pretty much was just waiting for draft day, and draft day came around, and it's funny because I didn't go to school that day. I said, "Hey, Mom, I wanted to watch the draft on TV at that time. They were doing it on ESPN, and they were kind of projecting me somewhere in the first 5 rounds." And so I was like, "Oh shit, man, I'm gonna watch this. Maybe I'll go in the first round. That'd be cool." And so I'm sitting at home. First round goes by. Nope, didn't get a call. So I'm like, okay, well, didn't get drafted in the first round, and turn the TV off, and I'm just kind of chilling at the house, and I don't get a call at all. And so I think we ended up still had baseball practice that day. So I went to baseball practice, and my coach comes up and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing here?" I'm like, "Well, it's here at practice."
Sure.
He's like, "Well, has anyone told you anything?" I was like, "No." He's like, "Okay." I think he knew.
Yeah.
But, I think that you have at that time you weren't allowed to have an agent. You're allowed to have an advisor.
I don't know how that is, bro. I was a 45th rounder, so I don't know what that is.
So, you couldn't have an agent. You had to. They called it an advisor, who ended up becoming an agent.
Yeah.
And so they didn't tell me because they wanted the Pirates to call me. And the Pirates they never ended up calling me. So I think they ended up calling my agent. And so my agent finally called me up later that day and was like, "Hey, just so you know, like, you were drafted in the 3rd round." I'm like, "You guys didn't call me to tell me this?"
all day.
I thought I didn't get drafted today. So that's kind of how I found out, that I got drafted by the Pirates in the 3rd round. And, was just kind of relieved that, a team wanted me, and, getting drafted, kind of high, and it was just a proud moment, for me, my first kind of real proud accomplishment in my baseball career.
That's what's up, man. And, get a couple dollars in your pocket. Probably can buy mom a new machine because all of them dirt stains done roughed up the machine and whatnot. So,
Yep.
From the baseball pants and stuff like that, man. But, was it an easy decision? 3rd round, obviously it's not 3rd round nowadays, but 3rd round was, especially being a high school guy, having some leverage to go to USC. You could go to USC. It wasn't like draft or bust for you. You could have gone there for your university, be eligible to play. Was it a hard decision having that leverage to sign that contract, or was it something like, what, let's get it going. I'm ready to become a professional ball player?
Yeah, I think once you get drafted as a certain round, if it's if you get drafted pretty high, it's a tough decision to turn that down because you can go to college and get hurt, and you might not get that opportunity again. So for me, and honestly, like, I was an average student, and I just wanted to play baseball, and I wasn't that motivated to go to college, just because it just meant I had to go back to school. And so just more classroom work. I wanted to be on the baseball field. And so that decision was pretty easy for me to go, into pro ball.
Gotcha. So you leaving, we mentioned Bradenton, Florida. I know how hot it is in Bradenton. I spent some years in Bradenton. Wasn't that big of an adjustment moving from Louisiana and going over to Bradenton, Florida, but you're leaving California, sunshine, nice breeze. You still get the palm trees, but that heat is a little bit different.
No joke.
How did you adjust to that, number one? And then secondly, everything that your coaches prepped you up and kind of gave you an idea about, did you start to see that once you stepped into that pro ball atmosphere?
Yeah. So I never adjusted to the heat. The hot, humid heat, and even, just going to different parts of the country and playing in the hot, humid heat, it's harder to deal with, if you're used to dry heat. And California gets a little bit of humidity, but nothing like Florida.
Yeah.
So the first thing you get out, they fly you down to Bradenton, Florida for rookie ball, and you walk out of Sarasota, Bradenton Airport, and it's just like, boom, it hits you like a freaking hard wall. And you're like, what is this? And so that was just kind of like the rude awakening, like, oh crap. And you're going to play 1:00 games, by the way. And you're going to be on the field at like 9 a.m. every morning when it's like super sticky and humid out. So that was tough. the one nice thing about pitching in humidity is it doesn't take you very long to get loose.
Yeah.
So it's good on your body. But yeah, you definitely had to adjust, adapt to it. But luckily, my high school baseball coaches ran the crap out of us. And so I was in very, very good shape conditionally. So transitioning from high school baseball conditioning to pro ball conditioning was pretty easy for me. So that part wasn't that hard. But just learning to live on your own, to that point, man, my mom did everything. I was spoiled as far as that goes. So there was a little bit of homesickness, going in there. But you had to go through it. Baseball was what kind of kept you going. But there was a lot of downtime, a lot of alone time, and just kind of had to, as part of growing up, being away from home and just kind of learning things on the fly. That was one of the big adjustments for me, is being away from home for an extended period of time. Never done that before. And so that was probably more of the challenge than the pro ball. The pro ball it brought me down to reality as far as, how good you were once you got into pro ball. Cause you're in high school baseball, you kind of dominate, and you get into pro ball and everyone can hit a 90-mile-an-hour fastball. And so you're like, oh man, I'm gonna have to learn how to pitch. And so there was a lot of that kind of up and down going. But the living away from home, I thought was more of a hard adjustment than the baseball part of it.
Yeah, you couldn't jump in a car and drive back to Cali from Florida. It's going to take you a little while, man.
My mom wouldn't let me. She would not let me do that.
And now you're probably sharing a room with 2 or 3 other guys because you're on bunk beds now at Pirate City. Back then, Pirate City was, that was some tough living back then. So, but obviously you had to adjust. Probably made some friends, some guys you probably still talk to today. You mentioned, a rude awakening from the baseball side. You do 90, you dominated in high school. Now you're on the field with guys that can hit that. Now you're sharing the mound, sharing the bullpen with guys that can throw 95, 20, 30 other lefties. You want that one of 3 or one of 1 lefty on your squad. So it was a lot of guys adjusting to different cultures and things of that nature. Like you said, being out on your own, having to wash your own clothes, be responsible for when you get up and make sure you're dressed and on the field at a certain time, because now coaches ain't running you for being late. They're taking money out of your pocket. So becoming a man at 18 or 19 years old, that was a big step for you. All the stuff outside of the game was probably easy. You just adjusted and had to, set your mind and go out there and compete and be a little bit better. But just adjusting to everything that comes along with that is tough, being a teenager, fresh out of high school. So was JJ in that draft? I think JJ was the first rounder for the Pirates.
Yeah, JJ was the first round. Yep. So him and I we got shipped to Bradenton, Florida to play in the Gulf Coast League. And I think JJ did pretty good. I struggled. I struggled in the Gulf Coast League. I learned real quick. I couldn't throw a fastball by a lot of guys anymore. And I had to locate, and that was kind of on my journey to becoming a pitcher, learning how to pitch and not be, just a thrower, because they would exploit you pretty quick, because you threw hard in high school and you did well in high school. They did, but that's out the window once you got to pro ball.
Yeah, you got to be able to put something together with that, and it takes some time as a youngster being stubborn and not having to go to that or use that coming up. But was it? I mean, I'm sure it was very, very refreshing to step off that plane and to step into Pirate City with somebody that you were familiar with, and it wasn't just that one guy on that island by himself having to kind of get to know people and fend for himself when it came to being around 100+ guys. When you talk about being in the GCL, Gulf Coast League, got about 70 to 100 guys out there through spring training and extended spring. So you talked about also high school around your junior year, going into your junior year. You start to get that attention, seeing that you had that opportunity. You're navigating through the Gulf Coast League. It's definitely a grind just being there with the heat, the two-a-days, being around so many guys, being far away from home, the food is different, all those things, right? Once you made it through that, got away from Pirate City, you're going through the minor leagues, short season, low A, high A. When did you start seeing yourself really flourish as a pitcher, as a professional pitcher?
Yeah. So my first, when I got drafted, I stayed in the Gulf Coast League, and then the next year, I actually was pitching in spring training, minor league spring training. Started to get a little discomfort in my shoulder, so I ended up staying back in extended spring training for a few weeks to get healthy. And then they shipped me to Augusta, Georgia. And, I get to Augusta, and it was a pretty talented team. A bunch of guys I played in the New York Penn League the summer before, and they all did well there. So they all get moved up to Augusta. So I come in there, and I struggled. I really, really struggled there. I was pretty much a 2-pitch pitcher. I just had a tough time with the changeup. And finally, we probably got maybe halfway to 3/4 of the way through the season. As a team, we were doing well, but I was a starter and I was kind of just lagging behind. And we had a game. I remember it was at home. I can't remember who it was against, but my catcher, his name was Lee Evans, kept on calling changeup, kept on shaking, got to throw a fastball. Finally, he came out and was like, "Listen, dude." He's like, "You need to start throwing your changeup because these guys in the bullpen are tired of picking up for you." All right. And so kept with the changeup, and I threw one changeup that game, and it clicked. And then, I became a 3-pitch pitcher, and it protected my fastball. And so from there, I kind of started, pitching better, pitching longer in the games. Got into the playoffs, got to pitch in the playoffs. And then, that's kind of just how everything started evolving from there.
Gotcha. And you said it helped you out. You went deeper in the games. It saved your bullpen too, because we know in pro ball, guys will let you know. And if you're getting banged around a little bit early on as a starter and you're having to come out of the game and the bullpen is having to cover 5-6 innings every time, those guys don't like that. Fortunately, I don't think that you had any trouble with your fellow pitchers on the team, but your catcher, Lee Evans, as you mentioned, came out and told you, "Hey, man, bullpen is tired of cleaning up your mess. We need to throw this pitch. We need to get that pitch down so we can go out there and go 5, 6, 7 innings and leave the bullpen to clean up 2 to 3 innings. And we're going to see ourselves kind of just ascend and go in the right direction." 2-pitch pitcher as a starter, man, we always knew as a starter, if you want to be a big league starter, especially, you need to throw 3 quality pitches. You develop that changeup, and it's something that you've been able to carry from that point on throughout your whole career. And I'm sure that changeup probably kept you around a little bit longer than you probably would have stayed, because it was an equalizer. You said it made your fastball better. Talk about that now. You start to take off. You develop that changeup. You have that confidence in throwing that pitch. Made your fastball better. Your slider came along. You were doing everything the right way and gradually climbing that ladder. So talk about that. Like, what really clicked for you when you got the changeup? You saw that success, and now you're building up, right? When did you get put on a 40-man roster? What year was that?
Oh, I don't remember the year. I just played. So I got moved up. I played another year at A ball, and I went to AA and pitched well in AA. And they had to protect me, or they were going to lose me. So they protected me, but I was going to have elbow surgery that year. I was having a tough time making my starts every 5th day. I had some bone chips in my elbow. And so went in, and Dr. Andrews went in there, took him out. And I had a tough time coming back from that. I wasn't really the same pitcher for a few years after that.
Really?
Yeah, that's where I got stuck in AA. Kind of lost a little bit of my control. Velocity started to come back, and, like I said, I was stuck in AA for a while, and it was getting to that point where I was getting to be like, 23, 24 years old. And, actually I got taken off of the 40-man roster, and I went and played ball in Venezuela. And that was probably the best thing that ever happened to me, because I went to Venezuela. I didn't have as much downtime during the off season, and I came back and I picked up a slider in Venezuela. And so went back to AA, and about halfway through the season, I was still starting at the time. They said, "Hey, we're going to bring up some other prospects, and we're going to put you in the bullpen." So I was like, "You're either going to do it or you're going to go home." So I was like, all right. So, they wanted to see how I bounced back, pitching in the bullpen. And I would say maybe a month later, I was in AAA. And then at the end of the year, I was in the big leagues. So I think just being stuck in AA all that time, and, kind of learning my body again, and but not having the control that you need from a starter. The bullpen, I can go in there and just blow it out for 1 or 2 innings, and I have to worry so much about, locating, still wanted to locate, but I can be a little bit, I didn't have to be as fine if I knew I was going to come in and throw 1 or 2 innings. Velocity ticked up a little bit, but that's just because I knew I didn't have to maintain it for 5 or 6 innings as a starter. I can come in and blow it out for 1 or 2 innings and be able to come back maybe a day later.
No doubt. That's huge, man, to make that transition. Again, you're a prospect. You've been on a 40-man for whatever reasons, didn't bounce back from the surgery the way you would have liked, the way the organization maybe would have wanted you to. You could have been stubborn, be like, I'm not going to the bullpen. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. But again, that humble pie or just kind of teaching that humility in high school from your coaches allowed you to say, you know what? Okay, I'm going to make that adjustment. Let me go ahead and go to the bullpen, see what happens. Probably a little bit less stressful in the sense of I don't have to maintain, as you mentioned, that velo, that command, all these things for 5 or 6 innings. Let me go out there 1 inning, 2 innings. Let me give it all I got, help my team stay in a position to win the ball game. I do my job, be ready for the next day or the day after that. And you mentioned another great, great point to where you went to Venezuela, played winter ball. That probably helped you to stay sharp, because you said you didn't have that downtime like you would normally have in the off season.
Yeah.
Going into spring training, kept you sharp. You were on top of your game.
I just came into spring training, just felt like I was strong. I felt like I didn't have to kind of work my arm strength back up. I went to Venezuela, played there for a little bit, came back and just continued to throw. I might have took a week off or something from Venezuela, but continued to throw. And I went to spring training like, man, my arm feels great. I feel like I didn't have to recondition my arm. So I wish I would have went to winter ball earlier, just because, just go down there and throw maybe 20 innings or something just to keep your arm active. I think during the off season all the time, you shut it down at the end of the season, take, whatever it is, 4 weeks off, 8 weeks off, whatever, your club tells you to do or whatever you felt comfortable doing. And you just kind of had to rebuild back up. And for me, just growing up in California, I think we played year round. So, we might have had a month off, so your arm never got out of shape.
Yeah.
Whereas I think that going to winter ball, and winter ball might not be for everyone. If you're a starter and you're throwing, if you're in the minor leagues, you throw 120, 130 innings, whatever it is, then probably not going to go to winter ball. But for someone that maybe is a bullpen guy, going to winter ball might help you, just because it's just going to keep your arm kind of activated, and you don't have to get back into shape as far as your arm conditioning goes.
Definitely. So after that winter, man, going into camp, being on top of your game, adjusting to being in a bullpen, because it is an adjustment. You have to get ready a little bit quicker. They might call you in at the drop of a dime. Did it take you long to make that adjustment, or was it something that you were able to pick up on quick? And then from there, like we said, you're ascending in the right direction, had a little setback on the injury, but now you're starting to find yourself again and you're approaching the major leagues. So talk about adjusting to the bullpen. Was it a huge adjustment? And then speak on that day when you got called, or you got that call saying you were going up to the big leagues.
Yeah. So the year I got moved into the bullpen was the year I got called up to the big leagues.
Quick.
It was quick. And I think it was just because when I got into the bullpen, I felt like I can just be in attack mode. I was just like, I'm going to try and get you out in like 3 or 4 pitches real quick. I'm going to throw as hard as I can. I've got my slider now. and I still had my changeup. So I felt like for me, it was just a little bit of a fresh air, going to the bullpen. But also when you're in the minor leagues, they kind of let you know, hey, this is when you're going to pitch.
Yeah.
They don't do a whole lot of back-to-back days. So, I get called up, I get moved up from AA to AAA. AAA, we're playing in Nashville. We had a really good team. I think we ended up winning our division. We ended up going all the way to the championship. And we got swept by Sacramento. They just spanked us. And I remember we were in Sacramento and my family had come out to see me, play. And they didn't get to see me pitch that day. And I was just sitting in the locker room, taking my uniform off after the game thinking, I think I was a 6-year minor league free agent.
Crazy.
And so I was gonna be gone. So I was thinking, this is my last go around for the Pirates. And Daryl Knowles was my pitching coach, AAA. And he comes over, and is like, hey, Skipper wants to talk to you. So I was thinking, he's just going to say, hey, thanks for everything, kind of end of the year thing. And there's like 4 of us in there. And he's like, you guys pack your stuff. You're going to Pittsburgh. And I'm like, what? I wasn't even on the I was not on the roster.
Wasn't on the roster.
I was not on the roster. So they had to put me back on the roster. They had to put me on, back on the 40 man. And then I was in the big leagues ever since. But yeah, going to pro ball, that was a huge adjustment because now you had to be ready to pitch every day.
Yeah. Yeah, being in the big leagues for sure, man. Nosey, another lefty, right? Nosey was a lefty, right? Your pitching coach in AAA.
Yep.
And then was Jewett the manager? Was Trent the manager at the time?
Trent Jewett was the manager, and awesome manager.
Definitely. If you don't know him, you might not like him. Like, he may rub you the wrong way. But once you get to know Trent, man, he's a great dude, bro. Definitely a great dude. So
Trent, I mean, I didn't get to be around Trent a whole lot. I mean, he was around in spring training, big league camp a lot, and then a little bit in AAA. But he was just a no nonsense. He wanted you to be there, be ready to go, and that's what I did when I was with him. I took the ball every day. He asked me to pitch. And, kind of the way it was when I got to the big leagues, I there was days where I probably shouldn't have took the ball, but for me, just being accountable, accountability is availability. If you're not available, then you're not accountable. So that was something that I always took pride in once I got to the big leagues.
For sure, man. So who were the other 3 guys that got called up with you that night?
Oh, I don't know if Gonzalez. I think Mike had already been up and down. He might have already been there. I think JJ was there. But I think JJ might have already been called up.
Was Tyke?
Bob, I think Tyke Redmond was. He was. I don't know if he was already up there though. He might have been. He might have been at that same time though.
Yeah.
Bobby Hill. He was. He was on that team. I think Freddie Sanchez. We all got called up.
Y'all had a squad at AAA, huh?
Oh yeah, dude. We were good, man. That AAA team was legit.
Super fun big league team. That's a big league team.
Super fun team to play with. Yeah, that team. They were pretty good. When you got Ryan Vogelsong was on that team. Who else was pitching on? Oh man, I'm totally drawing a blank. But the pitching staff on the team. Nelson Figueroa was on that team.
Yeah. And then the guy, high leg kick, was in Cincinnati, Boston. Arroyo. Was Arroyo there?
Bronson, I think he was already up in the big leagues.
Okay.
But Brian Meadows was on that team.
Chrysler was there.
I don't know if Clint Chrysler was on that team. I think he might have been there. I can't remember. I can't remember all the players. But, yeah. I mean, I played with Clint a lot in AA. He might have been in AAA at that time with us too.
Yeah, because I was just coming up. I think I was in A-ball in 03 when you guys were in AAA. So I always, in spring training, see all of you guys when you came down from big league camp and stuff like that, and just kind of kept track of the guys that were playing AA, AAA ball and what they were doing. So you get that call, man, you're surprised. Were you guys in Pittsburgh, or was the team in Pittsburgh on the road when you met up with them?
We were in Pittsburgh. We met the team in Pittsburgh, and I didn't pitch the first day. that I got to dress up. I think it was a few games. I ended up pitching a day game against the Cubs. I take that back. My debut was against the Phillies. But it was a few days after I'd already been in the big leagues. So.
You got a chance to throw a little side and kind of get accustomed to being in that environment with those guys. Talk about that whole experience when you make that debut against Philly. What was going through your mind? What was going through your head in that game? Because you said it was a few days and before you had been with the team for a few days before you got a chance to go out there and pitch. So talk about what was going through your head that whole time, leading up to the time that you pitched.
Yeah. I don't know. I wasn't really nervous, but that was probably just because maybe I didn't have time to get nervous. Everything was happening so fast, getting called up to the big leagues. I was pretty much came in for mop up. Someone, whoever starting that game, I can't remember who was starting, but he didn't last very long in the game. So I came in just to eat some innings, and I got hit around a little bit my first game. That team was pretty good. That Phillies team. I think they had like Bobby Abreu was on that team. Jimmy Rollins was on that team. They had some good players on that team. So it wasn't a Chase Utley was on that team. So, I kind of came in, got thrown into the fire, and said, hey, get some outs, which at that time, we weren't, the Pirates weren't playing well. So they wanted to see what their, the prospects can do. And so I pitched in that game. I pitched in a few more games that year and had a blast, man. It was fun.
Yeah, it kind of got you wet at that time, man. And I always ask this question too, getting into the big leagues. You hear the stories, the guys that take you out and kind of, show you what it's like to be a big leaguer, the way you dress, the restaurants you eat at, so on and so forth. Who was that guy that kind of took you under his wing at the big league level when you came up? And was it the same guy that bought you your first suit?
Well, the guys, two guys kind of took me under their wing my rookie year. And that was Brian Meadows and Brian Bowringer. And I was pretty much in those guys' back pocket the whole time. I followed those guys everywhere. I listened to everything they said. They mentored me, how to do the right things, the big league clubhouse, on the road, the hotels, all that stuff. Those guys really took me under their wing and showed me the right way to be a big leaguer. They also, Bowringer was huge on, being ready to pitch every day, take care of your body. And he was kind of the quiet guy, didn't talk a lot. And then, Meadows was just a super fun guy to be around and, just always joking around, kept it loose in the bullpen. But at the same time, like we knew that the bullpen that we took up north, it was a unit and we all had to pull for each other. And each guy was just going to, keep the line going and try and throw up zeros.
That's good, man. Some guys have one. You had two guys that kind of help bring you along the way. And you start settling in as a big leaguer. We talk about, for you, Graves, we've talked about when it started to click for you, right? In high school, pro ball, meaning the minor leagues and then the big leagues. When did it click for you in the big leagues and you knew, okay, I'm going to be here for a while? Like, was it a certain season, a month, a series, a week, whatever it may be? What was that telltale sign in you that say, hey, like I belong here, I'm comfortable, I'm going to be here for a while?
Well, I always had little, I always started off the season great, my first few years, and it'd be like September come around and I would just hit a wall. The
162 is different, bro. It's different.
Yeah, it is, man. And, so I never, ever felt like comfortable or like, hey, I belong here and I'm here to stay. I think it was always a struggle. Like, hey, I need to earn my spot. And I need to go out there and be available every day. And I think that's what kept me in the big leagues. I might not have been the most talented reliever, but I was accountable and I was ready to go every day. And that's probably what kept me in the big leagues for as long as I did, was just the fact I stayed healthy and I took the ball, when it was good and when it was bad. And, I think a lot of coaches, they appreciate that.
Definitely. Anytime you had an opportunity to go, you was ready to go. Help you get that nice pension, whenever you're ready to collect, you good, because you spent some years up there in the big leagues. But man, you're moving along with the Pirates. As you mentioned, the Pirates were not as talented, or probably didn't play up to their potential. Were there any teams through your years from 03 through 09? Were there any of those years that you thought, man, we got a squad, we might be able to make some noise this year? Was there any one of those teams during those 6 or 7 years?
Every year, every spring training, I was like, man, we can win, dude. We can win. We can do this, dude. Yeah, we don't have like the highest paid free agents, but I was like, we have the talent, And I would say probably my last year in Pittsburgh, we had a bunch of talent. I mean, we had Jason Bay, Freddie Sanchez, Adam LaRoche. I probably missed a bunch of people, but I thought we had a.
You missed Shane Youman. I was on the squad.
All right, man. No, man, we're crumbles compared to those guys.
Sure.
I thought we had a good team, but we just pitching probably hurt us the most. The starting pitching kind of disappointed. You don't have starting pitching. I don't care how many runs you can store, but as far as like talent, as far as the position players, I mean, we had a good squad. We had Nigel Morgan, we had Rajai Davis. We had, I think at the end of the time that I had gotten called up, I think McCutcheon was playing in the outfield too. I remember there was a game where I pitched and I think all three of them were in the outfield, and I was just like, let them hit it, dude, because they're going to go down. They're going to go get it. Yeah. I don't remember. I can't say if all three of them were in the outfield at the same time, but you had Jack Wilson and Freddie Sanchez up the middle, and you had some guys in the outfield to just go run it down.
Yeah.
So I thought, we had a pretty good squad, but we couldn't start pitching, just let us down.
Me personally, man, I've had this conversation with Raton, Jose Bautista. I think we missed that veteran leadership. Right. I think we missed that veteran leadership. Like, everybody was close in age, even though X may have had 5 or 6 years in the big leagues. Jack may have had 6, 7 years in the big leagues. Freddie the same, but we were all, mid to upper 20s. Yeah. Same age. There was nobody that was that 34, 35-year-old guy. Missing that veteran leadership, I think, that was the biggest thing. We got veterans in, but they were traded at the deadline. Every year, when you think about Kenny Lofton and guys like that came in for that short period of time. Reggie Sanders, I think he was a Pirate at one point, so on and so forth. Those guys get traded at the deadline, and then here it is, you're building that chemistry, and you don't have those guys, that good foundation of guys anymore, because they're going on to other teams. But you said you never got comfortable. I think that's that humility, that humbleness that your coaches instilled in you through high school, and you went out there every day, took the ball, gave it your best, whether you got your butt kicked or you went out there and shoved. He was the same guy. I was fortunate enough to play with you for a little bit in 06 and 07. I was one of those swingman guys. I go to the bullpen. Yeah. Learned a lot from you guys down in the bullpen, how to conduct myself down there and stuff like that. I'm going to ask you something. You can share it. You feel free not to share it, but we had that little bag in the bullpen. What was your concoction down there in the bullpen? What was your what was your concoction of choice down there in the bullpen? Because, we only got a baseball, man, and those guys got different types of bats and all this other good stuff. We need something to even out the playing field. So what was if you didn't have it, but what was your concoction?
Well, my concoction that I use, and I guess a lot of people ended up using it and continued to use it. And I think a lot of hitters don't care. They want you to, if that's what you're talking about, as far as, gripping a ball, stuff like that. And, I think a lot of hitters knew that, hey, I'd rather you have something to be able to grip the ball. So you're not throwing, mid 90s at my head. And so my concoction was, and just something that another veteran guy taught me to make it. It was basically, I'm giving away my secret here, but it was pine tar. So it was just liquid pine tar. It was the rosin before it was crushed into a powder. So they're like rocks. So it's basically like tree sap. And then you get a tiger stick, one of those pine tar sticks, and you cut a little bit of that off, and you add it to a bowl, something, that's not going to melt in the microwave. And you put it in the microwave, you get it all melted down, and you mix it up really good. And I'll pour it into a little pharmacy prescription bottle. And it was kind of the consistency of like a really kind of like peanut butter. And it was just enough to be able to grip the ball when it was cold, and there wasn't a lot of humidity in the air. It was nothing to like make a ball move more or to throw a better curveball or anything like that. It was just to get a little bit better grip. And you see guys do all kinds of stuff. They use bullfrog, they use lotion, rosin, anything you can use so you can be able to grip a ball and throw the ball where you want to and not get someone hurt. Oh yeah, I'm with you, man. I didn't have none of that. I had the fro back then, so the moisturizer I used to make sure it was good back here. I don't have the hair now, but get a little bit of that moisturizer to have, because my hands would get dry. So, and the baseballs that you get back in the big leagues, they're always slick. So you're always rubbing up a baseball anytime you got a new one. So you needed something to kind of keep that moisture and keep that stickiness on your fingers, so that you can throw the ball with some command and you're not throwing over somebody's head or somebody's feet. Moving in, you're settling in, you're doing well into that role, being that late inning guy, kind of that bridge between a starter or middle reliever and the closer. You're starting to have some of that veteran status in a sense. Was it some guys, who were guys that you started to kind of groom as you seen come up at a young age, the same way Meadows and Bowringer did with you? Were there any guys that you kind of took up under your wing and showed them the way? Every year, whatever rookie it would be or guy that didn't have a lot of experience, I always treat those guys the same way that both Brians treated me. To kind of take them under your wing a little bit, just let them know, hey, you need to be ready every day, get your body right, get your rest. When you went on the road, you try to take those guys out, take them out to dinner, you go to New York, I bought a bunch of suits at that suit place for rookies. So you just kind of keep, playing it forward, like all the other guys before I got to the big leagues. So just to make those guys feel comfortable, because in the bullpen, you might not be the the same 6-7 guys, whatever it is that they take north. It could be 15, 20 guys throughout the year that, pitch in the bullpen. So, and you want everyone to feel comfortable, because there could be a lot of anxiety in the bullpen. Some guys don't know what their roles are. So you just try and teach them, hey man, you got to find some type of routine that you have, whether you're superstitious or not. Routine's good, puts you in a comfortable position, but also, part of your routine is to, get your body right so when that phone does ring, you're ready to rock. And that's one thing I took from a lot of veterans: Jose Mesa, Bowringer, Meadows, Roberto Hernandez. I was lucky. I had a lot of older veteran players, pitched in the bullpen over the years. And so I would watch those guys and see how their routine was, what they did to get them ready. So for when the phone rang, they were ready to rock. And then you build your own little routine that makes you feel comfortable.
Gotcha. And you spoke about Meadows and Bowringer taking you to the wing, as I mentioned before too. Did you get 2 suits or what? Or did they each buy you a couple, man? Because I like to hear the stories about who bought suits for who coming up. And some guys didn't get suits, but yeah. And I was surprised about that. But most guys get that tailored suit from a veteran guy.
Yeah, I got suits, but it wasn't from a pitcher. It was Jason Kendall. It was our catcher. He took all the rookies over, all of us. It wasn't just pitchers. It was all the rookies. And we all went over. There was I think it's like is it like Portobello suits or something like that in New York City, right down the street from the hotel. So we basically just say, hey, meet me in the hotel, in the morning, and we'll walk over there. And y'all got to grab 2 suits. It was like 2 suits, 2 shirts, 2 ties. And then that stuff was tailored in your locker that evening.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's the life, man. the plane rides and all of those things.
I still have those suits. I don't think they fit me, but I still have them.
Yeah, it's a memory. You got your name in there, probably stitched in there and whatnot, man.
I didn't get that treatment. I must have been just a run of the mill. They were nice suits. But I don't remember. They might have my name in them. I don't know. I'll have to look. But nope, still have them. They're tucked away in the closet, though.
Yeah, that's always good to have that memory. It's like that Letterman jacket from high school, man. You got to hold on to that thing, man. But that's crazy. He took all the rookies out. That's huge. Obviously Kendall was a big-time ball player in Pittsburgh, Milwaukee, Oakland. Did some great things on the field. Made some good money. Obviously allowed him to take you guys out for those suits at the time. We moving along, man. It's been a classic episode thus far. We've talked about a lot of good things, a lot of not so good things that you had to persevere through. Even at the big league level, man, did you run into any tough times, whether it be from the business side or just from you, with performance and things like that on the field? Was there any times that something like that may have stood out or may have forced you to rethink what you wanted to do?
Well, in the big leagues, it was just, the grind. Trying to grind out 162 games. Obviously, I didn't play 162 games, but, if you pitched in 70, 75 games, the mental grind, pitching middle relief in the big leagues, for me was one of the things that was a struggle because, being ready to pitch every single day, there's a lot of stress involved. A lot of times when I was getting put in the games, there was a lot of runners on base. I had pretty good career as far as not letting inherited runners score. So I got thrown in those situations a ton. There's just a lot of stress that goes with that. So that would be probably one of the big things that, was tough about it. Maybe it wasn't as fun then maybe if you're a position player and you just go out, get to, exactly when you're going to play. Yeah. Go out there and just have a blast. Whereas a bullpen, man, it's just you're always just anxious when the phone's going to ring. Is it going to be for me? And I got to be ready to go. So that was probably one of the struggles. And that's why when the season ended, man, it was just like kind of let your guard down a little bit and relax a little bit because it is pretty stressful pitching middle relief in the big leagues.
Yeah, it's definitely tough. And I was one of the guys, even though my career was short at the major league level, bouncing from a starter to a reliever. And we know as relievers, like you said, it's a grind, having to be ready every day. You may get up 2 or 3 times and warm up, but not go in the game. You know what I mean? Then it might be that next day where you get up and 5 pitches in, hey, are you ready? We need you out there. So it's definitely being able to manage that and stay mentally tuned into what it is that you're doing. And so that you can go out there when your number does get called and excel out in the field. So, you go through Pittsburgh, man, you spent about 6 seasons there. Were you a free agent at the time you went to Chicago, or was it a trade type situation? When you went over to-
I was going to be a free agent. And so they had to make decision whether, do they trade me? They were trading everyone. I mean, all my buddies that I played in the big leagues for 6 years with, they all got traded. So I kind of figured my time was coming, but I was towards the end of the trade. So I was like, oh, maybe they're not going to trade me. So I was thinking maybe I'll sign back. But they were going to have to make a decision. I was pitching really well at the time. I had pitched really well the year before. I was healthy. So I was coming into my own. I had, a few rocky for a few seasons, but like I said, I was accountable, ready to pitch every day. And that kind of kept me in the big leagues, let me go through my struggles. And then I kind of figured some things out, had some good years. So they knew like they were going to, probably going to have to pay me to keep me. And so I think they finally just got the right trade. And then they got traded over to Chicago. But yeah, at the end of that season, I would have been a free agent.
Gotcha. Yeah, they definitely were trading away guys, seemed like every year. And, something just came to me just asking that question and you answering that. You survived 3 regimes, man. I mean, when you came in, it was Cam Bonifay. He was the GM. you got drafted. And then, a few years later, I think the year I got drafted is the year they let Cam go. And then Littlefield came in. And then in the middle of all of that, 2007, when you're starting to peak, you're starting to put together those good seasons, Littlefield gets let go and then Neil Huntington comes in. So did that was that something that kind of played a role in, affected you in any way? You just had that tunnel vision, like, I'm here to do a job, I'm here to pitch, I'm not worried about who's in what position. Was that something that you even thought about?
Well, not only the GMs, but the managers. I went through a bunch of different managers. No, for me, I still had the same mentality. Just come out, be ready to pitch, and try and help the team, help the bullpen, whatever capacity it was, and try and stay healthy. It didn't matter who the manager was. Obviously, I got along with all the managers. But that was the big thing for me, was just, going about your business the right way, putting your body in the position to be able to pitch every day if you can. And, just go out there and try and help the team.
Gotcha. Well, speak real quick, man, about the transition now. You're going from Pittsburgh to Chicago. Chicago being a division rival, they're starting to play some good baseball at the time that you go over there. So how much of an adjustment? You're a vet now at that time. Was it an adjustment? How much of an adjustment was it going over to Chicago?
I got there, the day I got there, I walked in the clubhouse, I was wearing a suit, and I walked into Lou Pinella's office, and he's like, son, you don't need to wear a suit. You've got enough time. You don't have to wear a suit in the clubhouse. We're not wearing suits unless it's a getaway day. So I was like, okay. And he's like, well, you ready to pitch? I was like, yeah, ready to go. He threw me in there that night. He it was not, hey, no messing around. He threw me right in the fire, right from the get-go. And I ended up pitching really well for us that year. Starting pitching kind of let us off at the end. St. Louis, I think they picked up Holiday, and they kind of took off, and we ended up coming in second place in our division. So I was a little disappointed because he got traded over. We were in first place. We were playing really well, but we kind of hit a block towards the middle of September, and our bullpen was kind of taxed, and we never could recuperate. But going to Chicago, great place to play, awesome town. Had great teammates there. We just didn't play well. The day games was tough as an older player. And then that was when Nolan was born. That was one of the harder things for me to adjust to in pro ball, was being away from family. And you don't know until you have kids how hard that is, because you might miss little milestones. So going on the road was a lot more difficult when I started a family than it was, when you're single, or you're just getting. Just being away from home was a little bit tough, and it was the day games. It was definitely an adjustment.
Yeah, definitely, man. And that wind blows out pretty good. It's not very friendly for a pitcher over there at Wrigley, man. So definitely got to keep the ball down and make sure you don't allow those hitters to lift that ball in the air, because it's getting out. So that's the first thing you look at. First thing you look at every day when you went to the field was the flags, because you're like, man, it's howling out. It's like, oh, I got to get in today. All right, you better keep the ball down, dude. Fly balls, leave this ballpark in a hurry. Oh yeah, blowing out. Yeah, definitely tough to pitch over there, man, when that wind's blowing. So you spent a year and a half? You spent a year and a half with the Cubs? I spent a little over 2 years with the Cubs. And then that's around 2011. Free agent over to the Dodgers. I know that was a short stint with LA, but was that a situation where, maybe you didn't fit into the plans and you was like, I decided to hang it up, or was it something that was a mutual agreement? Speak on that for a second. Went to the Dodgers as just a non-roster invitee to big league camp, and actually pitched the best spring training I ever had. I don't think I gave up a run that spring, but one of the starters went down, and they wanted to keep a long guy, and so I had an out in my contract. The day I took my out on my contract was the day I found out my dad had pancreatic cancer. Wow. So
I retired from baseball that day, essentially. So, and that was just to be able to be with my dad when he was going through cancer. Pancreatic cancer is the success rates of beating pancreatic cancer are very low. So I got to spend the last 6 months of his life with him, going back and forth from here to California. During that time, I had other offers to go play in the big leagues. And just for me, it was just more important for me to be with my dad, and kind of just hung him up from there, and still watch baseball and follow baseball as much now as when I was playing. So no regrets.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely can. That's family, man. And just for something like that, pancreatic cancer is really harsh. I don't know the ins and outs, but I'm familiar with the disease, man. And I'm definitely, that's, for you, maybe it wasn't hard. Maybe it was hard to turn it away, especially starting to peak as a pitcher. But again, that's your pops, he one of those people that kept you on that baseball field and gave you that opportunity to go out there and chase your dreams. So I can definitely salute you for that and respect you for that, man. So
yeah, I would say my last year I got hurt when I was in Chicago, and I really wasn't the same after that. I had not a major injury. I had a pretty bad knee injury. And so I was pitching with a knee brace on all the time, and I just was not the same anymore. Yeah. So it was kind of in the back of my mind, my dad getting sick, definitely, I think if I was in the prime of my career, I was pitching really well and I wasn't pain free or anything like that, I would have went back and played pro ball, or I would have, went back. But I always told myself that if I couldn't pitch at the highest level competitively, I'd rather leave on my terms than someone push me out. That's just how I was, how I always thought about it. I wasn't going to just stick around to get time or make money. I enjoyed the game, but I wanted to be able to do it at a high level. And if I couldn't do it at the high level, then it was time to go do something else.
No doubt, man. You knew when to fold them, huh? You knew when to fold them. No doubt. And for some of us, it's tough to give that up, man. You think you could play forever. And it's tough to give it up. And you find yourself not being 100% you and just out there. So it's definitely beneficial if you kind of can realize that and, walk away on your own terms. But Graves, man, I really appreciate it. Like I said, you hopping on. I got a couple more minutes if you got it, man. 5 questions I'm going to ask you, and then we're going to wrap this thing up, man. So, throughout that big league career, throughout that youth career, we know you had the concoction down in the bullpen. Were there any superstitions that you had while playing?
I didn't have any superstitions like where I had to tie my shoelaces a certain way or anything like that. I just had a routine, and my routine would be, typically I think it was like the 4th inning, I would drink a Red Bull, just to give me a little bit of energy.
I think I got that from you too. I started drinking Red Bulls around the time you knew you was about to get the ball.
Yeah, and then we always had one of those little smelly salt things you can crack open. Yeah. And someone would throw one of those in a water bottle, and you just pass it along, and you'd squeeze that water bottle and get that. You just get that whatever ammonia, whatever's in it. It would wake you up so quick it'd burn your nose hairs.
Oh yeah, I remember that too.
Yeah. So that was part of my routine. And then in the 5th inning, I would try and play catch with the outfielders, or I'd try and throw a heavy ball against the wall or something like that. That way, because I figured I was going to pitch somewhere between the 6th, 7th, 8th inning. I wasn't really a closer my whole career or anything like that. I only did that for a little bit. So usually in the 5th inning, I try to throw a heavy ball or throw at the outfielders. That way, if the phone rang in the 6th, 7th inning, I had a little bit of blood flow in my arm. So it wasn't just a big shock when I had to start letting it eat.
No doubt. Second question, man. A hitter or team you hated to face?
Ooh. I wouldn't say I hated facing hitters. There was hitters that owned me. Prince Fielder owned me, man. I couldn't get him out. If I got him out, he hit it hard at someone. Pool holes at that time. He was hard to get out.
Yeah, he's locked in.
I got him out. He hit it hard somewhere. Man, Bobby Abreu was a tough out for me. There was a bunch of guys, man, that were just, man, a lot of them were left-handed hitters. But I would say Prince Fielder, he owned me, man. I just had a tough time getting him out. Joey Votto was a tough out.
Yeah, he was an evil eye.
Guys that can go the other way really good. I had that were lefties. I struggle with those guys because they can just kind of pepper me the other way.
Yeah. So what about a guy or guys you had a lot of success against?
Oh man. I don't know if I had like a ton of success against anyone. I mean, I faced Griffey quite a bit. I think he got me. He got me a few times, but I probably got him more than he got me. So I would say I did okay against Griffey. Adam Dunn, guys that I faced quite a bit. I think I did okay against them. Not to say they weren't good, hitters or anything like that, but I think I did my job pretty decent against some of those guys. But I can't say like I don't think I owned anyone where they were like 0 for 15 with 10. I don't think, not that I know of. There might be someone that I don't know about or can't remember, but no one that I off the top of my head.
Yeah, you faced a lot of guys pitch for a long time. So I got a couple more questions for you, man. Baseball card or video game? When you saw yourself on one or the other, which one was like, yeah, I'm here?
Probably baseball card. Yeah, just because I grew up playing collecting baseball cards. So I would say for me that was pretty cool. But yes, being on a video game, it's pretty cool until your buddies are always ragging you like, hey, I was using you on MLB The Show the other day. You're horrible, dude. I tried to use you I tried to get 7 innings through it out of you, but you kind of hit that block in like the 3rd inning. I'm like, dude, you're my reliever, bro.
Reliever. You start me. I'm a relief pitcher, man.
Yeah.
So 2 more, man. 2 more. And I don't know what you guys called it on the West Coast, but we called them chili Fritos here down south. Nachos or chili Fritos, and they call them Frito pie in some certain places too. What did you prefer? I'm talking Little League John Grabow. After the game, you go to the concession stand, you wanted some nachos or some chili Fritos?
Oh, no. So we didn't have chili Fritos, but I've had chili Fritos. But at our snack bar, it was just like your normal tortilla chips. They would have, they got that big, huge gallon jug of cheese from Costco or Sam's Club, or was that Price Club? And so you'd have that cheese on there, and then they would put chili on there on top of the cheese. So it was like, chili cheese nachos, and that was, and they would do it on fries too. Really good.
So you're a nacho guy, no matter what.
I mean, I love Fritos now. Like Fritos, my wife does a Fritos with she puts a bunch of like lettuce on there with tomatoes and a bunch of chili and ground hamburger. Yeah. I love that. It's kind of like a little Fritos taco salad.
Yeah, that's that big league snack right there. That ain't none no little league parks or no minor league parks. So
no, they don't have that there.
I got one more for you, man. One more for you. Maybe you got an answer for me, maybe you don't. Favorite athlete of all time?
Oh man. Ooh. Probably Ken Griffey Jr. Probably Ken Griffey Jr. He was the guy, like when I was little, like I'll never forget getting his like 1989 Upper Decks rookie card. Like, yeah, there you go.
Throwback. And just, 1997.
I just remember growing up, being in the backyard. I grabbed like a broomstick to use as a bat and just emulating his whole stance, his swing. You just wanted to be like him, being left-handed hitter, left-handed thrower. You did everything. Like him. And then they end up playing against him. Was even more of a trip, but yeah, growing up, he was the guy. I mean, he was the guy. Like he was the Michael important for baseball for us growing up, you know, in the late 80s, early 90s, you know, even all the way through the 90s. I mean, he was the face of baseball.
Oh, yeah, I'm with you, man. I mean, that's from 97, the year we graduated, man, that little figurine right there. I had that teal jersey and I had the white Griffey jersey. So I'm the same. That's my guy too, man. So, man, Graves, again, I really appreciate you hopping on, man. I know we probably went a little bit longer, but like I said, we never know where these may take us. You know, reliving some good memories, just talking about you coming up. Now you're a grill master. I know you be on that grill pretty heavy. I see your T-shirt, Meat Church. That's what that says. What's that?
That's a Texas thing.
Really?
They're in is that Waxahachie, Texas?
Waxahachie, Texas. Yeah, I live nearby. I'm gonna have to check them out.
Yeah, man. I wish I haven't been there. I use a bunch of their products. They're awesome. I think the guy that owns this name is Matt Pittman. But yeah, they're right there, not too far from you. If you like barbecue stuff, I mean, everyone knows.
That might be a 25 minute drive for me from my house to Waxahachie. So I'm gonna have to look them up. Meat Church, man. So I see you post on Facebook, you know, doing the brisket and all the stuff on the grill, man. So I know besides coaching and raising your kids, that's a favorite thing that you like to go out there and do. But I'm gonna have to come to Arizona one day and check you out and see what you do on that pit live and direct, bro. So.
Anytime, man. Anytime you're out here, man, just hit me up. My is open, dude.
No doubt, man. Again, bro, I appreciate you hopping on the podcast, man. Taking this time out to share your story and your experiences as a big league pitcher. Again, man, this is the League Talk Podcast, and we out of here.